evening. Welcome and thank you for everyone who came in person in this pouring rain. We are gathered tonight for Yom HaZikaron, and of all the Yomim, it makes so much sense that this one is in the middle. Last week we were together for Yom HaShoah, where we remembered 6 million Jews, 2/3 of world Jewry, who were murdered in the Holocaust. Tomorrow night, we start celebrating Yom HaAtzmaut, the idea that for the first time in 2 millennia, there's a Jewish state. That this year, for the first time, more Jews live in Israel than in the rest of the world combined. But today, we remember the over 24,000 people, soldiers, and those that we have lost in terrorist attack, who because of them, we have the right and the freedom to be part of this Jewish project that we call Israel.
Good evening. My name is Mark Shapiro. I am the president and CEO here at the Harry and Rose Sampson Family JCC. Last week on Tuesday, I said these words. Today, I am proud to say them again. Welcome home. Welcome back to the JCC. Welcome back to our community, coming together as we do for community. Sometimes we come together like tomorrow to celebrate. Tonight, we come back to commemorate. And I just spent this past weekend on a college campus. And as I was thinking about that moment and how to welcome everyone here tonight, I thought to myself, you know, the war against Israel is being waged all over the world. College students are struggling on campuses to defend our beloved state. But tonight, we focus on those people who lost their lives defending our beloved state. And last week, our guest speaker, Pinchas Guder, said over and over and over again at the end of his speech, Am Yisrael Chai. Am Yisrael Chai. So to tie from last week to this week, we think of the words of Pinchas. We remember those who have lost their lives to defend our state, and at the same time that it goes on. Am Yisrael Chai.
Good evening and Bruchim Habaim. Welcome to the 2022 Yom HaZikaron ceremony. I'm Bobby Rector, co-chair of today's event. We are so happy to finally be able to gather in person to commemorate Yom HaZikaron, Israel's fallen, and to share in the sorrow this day brings.
Hello, I am Peter Klein. We are so glad you are able to join us this year as we commemorate the 25th anniversary of the deadliest air disaster in Israeli history.
In 1997, in order to avoid ambushes that were occurring during ground transportation of soldiers into Lebanon, the decision was made to reduce that risk by flying troops in from northern Israel. On the evening of February 4th, 1997, 2 transport helicopters took off for southern Lebanon. They had been given permission to proceed after a 24-hour weather delay. One helicopter was loaded with 4 crew and 32 soldiers, and the other with 4 crew and 33 soldiers. The weather was foggy and the helicopters collided, sending one into a quick descent into Moshav Shar Yashuv, while the second made an attempt to recover before it too crashed in the fields of Kibbutz Dafna. Not one of the 73 survived.
All of Israel went into shock. Most everyone knew someone directly or indirectly who had died. February 6th was quickly marked as a day of mourning, as 73 funerals had to be performed. Tzahal began investigations, while the volume of protests regarding Israel's involvement in Lebanon increased, eventually leading to the evacuation of all IDF presence in southern Lebanon.
What can we take from this horrible tragedy? Within the group of 73 were soldiers ranging in ages from 19 to 35, ranked from sergeant to lieutenant colonel. There was wide representation from cities all over the country, varied service units, Jews, Druze, and Muslims. This is the reality of the Israel Armed Forces, where socioeconomic class, ethnic background, religious persuasion all fade while service to country becomes the equalizing and unifying principle.
What we would like to emphasize today is not the mission itself, nor the cause of the crash, not the political implications at the time, but unity. Today, we unite in support of our homeland, the State of Israel, while remembering the fallen whose ultimate sacrifice was made in her defense.
As usual, our ceremony is structured like the ceremony held in Israel. We engage our Milwaukee community in a variety of ways. This year's torchlighters are volunteers from the Federation's Partnership Together program between Milwaukee and Sovev Kinneret. Over the last few weeks, children from our local schools have participated in learning about the helicopter disaster. With the guidance of Tzipi Altman-Schaefer and our Shinshinim, they created the artwork about the soldiers that you saw at the start of the event. You can access a link in your program for a look at the artwork with a map of towns these soldiers were from.
We thank the clergy and participants who will help us to convey the sanctity of this day. Thanks to Uriah Roth, Milwaukee's Community Shaliach, and North Star for guiding us through the planning process, and to our committee members, Gail Adams, Tehila Cohen, and Or Elias. Special thanks to Allison Hayden for superior administrative and technical support.
In a moment, we will hear the Tzvira, after which Cantor Barash will sing Nothing Will Hurt Me, a song by Knesiat HaSechel, whose lyrics were written by Erez Stark, one of the fallen from the helicopter disaster. Erez left a notebook of poems and a diary found by his family. To their shock, in it was a drawing of a tombstone with his name on it, and on the last page, the lyrics of this song foreshadowing his death. Ela Achim Shali, These Are My Brothers, is a project of the IDF radio station Galei Tzahal. Every year, they commission famous artists to compose music from the poetry of fallen soldiers. Nothing Will Hurt Me was one of those songs. It quickly rose in popularity and came to represent the helicopter disaster for all of Israel.
We ask that you refrain from applause during the ceremony today. Please take a moment to silence your electronic devices. Please rise for the Tzvira as we commence with Yom HaZikaron.
על פי הנחיית הרבצ"ר, תהיה רכבת אווירית שתטיס את כולם לרידינג ד' צריך להיות פה זהירות וצריך להיות פה, איך אומרים, סייעתא דשמיא. פה הקדוש ברוך הוא נתן את כל הכוחות לאנשים שבאמת היו שם.
באמת האנשים שעבדו שם הרגישו שזה ההזדמנות שלהם לתת את הכבוד האחרון בצורה הכי מכובדת לחלל, לפני שהוא יובא לקבורה, ולעשות את זה בצורה הכי טובה והכי מכובדת, כי בסוף מולם עמדה משפחה והחלל.
הם אומרים, זה שליחות. אתה לא תעשה, ואם הוא לא יעשה, אז מי יעשה? לקראת 3:30 כבר, עוד בוקר פונו כל החללים, ויכולנו להגיד כבר שבעצם הסתיימה המלאכה, וכל ה-73 של החללים שהיו נמצאו, ואין כאן נעדרים.
ואם היה עוד גופות, כמה זה היה לוקח? לילה. למה? אתה מוכרח למוחרת להתחיל בהלוויות. ביום רביעי אחרי הצהריים, אני חושב שיצאה הלוויה הראשונה, ועם כל האסון ועם כל המספר הזה של החללים, שעד יום שישי בצהריים, 73 חללים באו לקבורה כדת משה וישראל, כמו שצריך.
ואני זוכרת שאמרתי לבנות שלי, אנחנו ניסע לסבא וסבתא, ושם ניפרד מאבא, ושמי שמת לא חוזר, אבל הוא תמיד איתנו. מי שמת לא כואב לו שום דבר, ולכן הוא בתוך ארון מעץ, כי ככה מכבדים את חיילי צה"ל, וגם אנחנו מכניסים אותו לאדמה, אבל הוא לא מפריע לו שזורקים אדמה. וגם היה לי ברור למשל שהבנות שלי יבואו ללוויה, שכמו שאני זקוקה לפרידה הזאת, גם הן זקוקות לפרידה.
אני מהאנשים שאני לא מאמין בסיסמאות, שאנחנו שולחים חיבוק גדול ואנחנו... כל משפחה זה עולם ומלואו. זה לא רק שהיא איבדה נפש שהוא עולם ומלואו, היא עולם ומלואו.
שום דבר לא יפגע בי, שום דבר. לא אישה, לא כדור מחבלים, שום דבר. כי ככה נשבעתי לאחי אחותי להורים. ובכיתי בלילות, ודאגתי בימים. כי פחדתי שמשהו יפגע בהורים, וקולו של אבי מהדהד לי בראש כבר שנים. אם יקרה לך משהו, אין לי טעם לחיים, אין לי טעם למחר. אין לי טעם לחיים, אין לי טעם למחר. אם אתם עומדים כאן מעליי, כנראה שלא עמדתי בהבטחתי. מצטער בחיי, מצטער בחיי, מצטער בחיי. אם יקרה לך משהו, אין לי טעם לחיים, אין לי טעם למחר. אין לי טעם לחיים, אין לי טעם למחר. שום דבר לא יפגע בי, שום דבר.
לא אישה, לא כדור מחבלים, שום דבר.
Like every other Israeli, I do remember February 4th, 1997. I was 17 years old. In my hometown in Kiryat Ata, I actually knew two of the people who died in this helicopter tragedy. One of them is Erez Stark, who wrote the song that Kendall Barash just sang. And the other guy was Gal Meisles, who was my counselor in Bnei Akiva youth movement. And I remember that week, those funerals were happening at the same day, at the same time, not in the same time, but at the same cemetery. And I remember the first funeral started at 2 p.m. Again, 17-year-olds, thousands of people. It's February in Israel. It starts raining, pouring, and it's getting to 4 p.m. and they start the second funeral, but nobody leaves. I think by the time of the second funeral ended, maybe all 20,000 people actually living in Kiryat Ata were there in that cemetery. But the thing is that everything that happened when it comes to helicopter tragedy actually happened the day after. It started after that. Now the people who died in this horrible tragedy, but the people who were left behind. Erez Stark in this song said, if something will happen to me, there's no meaning to my life. In his family, the Stark family, both parents passed away in the next 5 years from a broken heart, and his sisters both left Israel, couldn't handle the tragedy. The other person, Gal Meisles, actually his family and his community were so together around them that they are actually still very strong in the community of Kiryat Ata. I think what we're trying to say, or what's happening right now in the ceremonies in Israel, I think there's a little bit of shifting from talking about bravery or about heroism, but actually talking about those who left behind, those who are dealing with the tragedy, those who are the parents, the friends. There's so many circles around each and every one of them. This is the reason we chose for this year Shuli Moalem to be our speaker. A few weeks ago, I interviewed Shuli on Zoom. It was a longer around 45 minutes. You'll see about 14 minutes out of that interview. But Shuli Moalem became a symbol of that day. Her husband, Moalem, was the highest ranked officer on this flight. And actually, he was the one who made that decision in Lebanon that from now on, we're actually going to use helicopters to get to Lebanon. And she felt responsible not just for every other soldier, she was responsible for everyone in Israel. She became a public figure, she became a politician, she was a member of the Knesset, when she realized as a widow in Israel that once you remarried, once you actually move on with your life, you lose all your benefit as a widow of the IDF soldier. And she made it to the Knesset and she changed the law. And since 2012, this is no longer the case. Even if you are remarried, you're still almanat tzahal. You're still a widow of an IDF soldier. So for me, Shuli is not just a symbol of what happened in 1997. She's a symbol of Israel of 2022. So I want to take, now we're going to show you a little bit of that interview. And if you want to know more, if you want to hear more from Shuli, please let me know. Thank you very much.
כי בדיוק האוטובוס שלנו הגיע, ובאותו יום שלישי זה היה שמה שתפס את הציבוריות הישראלית, זה מה שרוב המשפחות השכולות עושות בלי לדבר, ואני דיברתי על זה מההתחלה. הבחירה בחיים. הבחירה בחיים יש לה שני קווים. קו אחד של בחירה בחיים, של שמחה, של אופטימיות, של רצון להיות משמעותית לעצמי ולסביבה, של לצמוח מתוך האובדן, של לבחור לראות נקודות של אור בחושך המוחלט שנקרא המוות של מועלם, ויש בה קו שני של עצב וכאב וגעגועים ותחושת החמצה וכאב שהולך ומתגבר ככל שהשנים עוברות מול עוד דברים גדולים שקורים לנו. ואני חושבת שהציבור מאוד 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 התחבר לתת מקום גדול גם לבחירה בחיים, ולהגיד, צמחתי מתוך המוות של הבעל שלי, אבל גם לתת מקום גדול לכאב. ולא לחשוב שצריך לשחק איזה משחק, לא בצד של הכאב, ולא בצד של החיים. וגם דבר נוסף שמאוד משך תשומת לב, זה שהייתה לנו זוגיות מאוד יפה וטובה ומעולה ומרגשת ומאוהבת, כאישה דתייה ואיש חילוני. ואני מחזירה את כולכם לפברואר 97, שהוא בסך הכל שנה ו3 חודשים מרצח רבין, רצח ראש הממשלה יצחק רבין, שהוא פצע פתוח וכואב עד היום בחברה הישראלית, אבל אז היה שסע עמוק מאוד בין ציבור חילוני לציבור דתי, ואני חושבת שזה שאני דיברתי על זוגיות של אישה דתייה ואיש חילוני, שהצליחה והייתה עם הרבה מאוד סובלנות והרבה מאוד הכלה, וגם אמירה של אהבה מאוד גדולה, תפסה מאוד את הציבור הישראלי, ואחר כך נוספו, אני מניחה, תהליכים נוספים שאני עברתי, ומתוך המקום האישי שלי, הסכמתי תמיד לשתף בכאב, וגם לתת מקום לכאב. מבחינתי, אני גאה מאוד בזה שהרבה מאוד אנשים כואבים את המוות של מועלם ואת החוסר שלו. לא הייתי רוצה שרק אנחנו נחשוב שהאובדן של מועלם הוא הפסד, ומתוך התפיסה הזאת נתתי הרבה מקום לכאב האובדן של חברים, של חיילים, של מפקדים אחרים בצבא, של רגע לדבר על המשמעות של אובדן של 73 אנשים לחברה הישראלית כולה, וצריך להגיד שאסון המסוקים היה והוא עדיין השתקפות אמיתית של כל החברה הישראלית. אבל צריך להגיד שהזעזוע היה כל כך עמוק, הוא נגע בשורשי הנפש של החברה הישראלית ושל העולם היהודי כולו. אני יודעת על מאות אירועי זיכרון שהיו בשבוע שאנחנו ישבנו 7. בסוף האובדן נגע בכולם. ואני חושבת שקרו הרבה תהליכים בחברה הישראלית בעקבות אסון המסוקים, גם מול הצבא וגם בתוך החברה האזרחית. אני אתחיל מתהליכים שקרו בתוך הצבא. היה ברור שהאסון הזה דורש איזה חשבון נפש, לא של עריפת ראשים, לא של חיפוש אשמים. אני כאישה דתייה, המטרה שלי הייתה שוועדת החקירה תוביל לזה שלא יהיו אסונות, לא בסדר גודל כזה ולא בסדר גודל אחר. וכן תגיד מה היו הדברים שאותם צריך לתקן. המטרה היא תיקון עולם. ובטח כשאנחנו מאבדים 73 אנשים, ברור שאני עשיתי את חשבון הנפש האישי שלי, כל המשפחות של אסון המסוקים, ברור שחייהם השתנו. אבל אני חושבת שגם החברה הישראלית, יש את החברה הישראלית עד אסון המסוקים, ויש את החברה הישראלית של אחרי. ברור שאסון המסוקים היה נקודת התחלה של סוף השהות של צה"ל בלבנון. של השאלה מה המטרה של צה"ל בשהות שלו ברצועת הביטחון בלבנון, היא הלכה ועלתה והלכה ועלתה עד היציאה מלבנון 3 שנים ו3 חודשים אחרי האסון במאי 2000. צריך להגיד שאם ההתארגנות של 4 אמהות הייתה ממש ממש בחיתוליה לפני אסון המסוקים, היא מאוד התגברה והפכה לתנועה ישראלית כוללנית שדיברה על זה שצה"ל צריך לצאת מלבנון. אני מודה שאני לא הסכמתי לענות על השאלה הזאת בכל השנים עד שצה"ל יצא. ברמה הכי אישית אני אגיד שמבחינתי היה צריך לצאת לפני שהבעל שלי נהרג, תמיד אמרתי. אם שואלים אותי, אז אני חושבת שהיה צריך לצאת ב3 לפברואר. אני לא הייתי איש צבא, לא חשבתי שיש לי מספיק כלים לענות על השאלה האם צה"ל צריך להישאר שם או לא, אבל אני חושבת שאסון המסוקים גם גרם לזה שהקשר או החוזה בין הצבא למדינה, הקשר שבין המדינה לחיילים שלה, נבחן ונשאל והתהדק בעקבות אסון המסוקים. מה המשמעות של שירות חובה? מה המשמעות של גיוס לשירות בצבא, שהוא חובה במדינת ישראל? מה המשמעות של שירות משמעותי? בלבנון שירת רק מי שרצה. אף אחד לא עלה ללבנון אם הוא לא הסכים לשרת שם. ואני זוכרת תחושות של חיילים בלבנון, שכאילו הם בלבנון, הם כל הזמן במלחמה בלתי פוסקת, ואז הם יוצאים הביתה אחרי 21 יום, וכאילו בארץ הכל רגיל. זה פגש את כל הסיפור של הפוסט-טראומה של חיילים, וזה פגש את ההצלחה שלנו, קבוצה שלמה שפעלה יותר משנה, לתת אות הוקרה ללוחמים בלבנון. ושכנענו את משרד הביטחון ואת הצבא, שצריך לתת אות מערכה למלחמה ברצועת הביטחון, ולקראת מיום הזיכרון שעבר ועד יום הזיכרון הזה, הצבא ומשרד הביטחון חילקו את אות המערכה לכל הלוחמים. הדבר הזה החזיר בעצם את כולם אל שנות השירות. אנשים התחילו לדבר על השירות שלהם בלבנון בלי הפסקה. נוצרה בפייסבוק קבוצה מדהימה של השנים בלבנון. אנשים פשוט סיפרו וסיפרו וסיפרו וסיפרו. היו ימים שהיו נכתבים בקבוצה הזאת מעל 100 פוסטים. והתחילו לעשות קבוצות של לוחמים מלבנון. ודיברנו בלי הפסקה על הנופלים באסון המסוקים, על השנים בלבנון, ועל מה המשמעות שלנו. ובעיקר מבחינתנו, אנחנו לא זוכרים את הנופלים זיכרון ארטילאי. אנחנו זוכרים את החיים שלהם. אני וכולנו זוכרים את מועלם בחיים שלו, מה הוא היה, מה הוא אהב, במה הוא האמין, לפי איזה ערכים הוא חי. ואת כל הדברים האלה אנחנו לוקחים אל החיים שלנו ומנסים להתקדם. ומה זו התקדמות אם לא הדרך אל הגאולה? ולכן מבחינתנו, גם יום הזיכרון וגם הזיכרון של אסון המסוקים, כמו כל הזיכרון של כל אחד מהאהובים שאיבדנו כחללי צה"ל וכחללי פעולות האיבה, הוא תחת האמרה שמיוחסת לבעל שם טוב הקדוש, שבזכירה סוד הגאולה. אנחנו זוכרים אותם דרך החיים שלהם, מנסים להתקדם עם החיים שלנו, וככה להביא בעזרת השם גאולה, גם אישית וגם לאומית.
May God remember the souls of his heroic children, the fighters of the Israeli Defense Forces, who fell in the wars of Israel in defensive, retaliative, and security actions, and during the fulfillment of their duty, including the souls of the underground fighters and brigades who fought in the national struggle, all those who sacrificed their lives with the sanctification of Hashem's name. And with the help of God, the Lord of Israel's campaigns, they brought about the revival of the nation and the state, and the redemption of the land and the city of God. They were quicker than eagles and stronger than lions as they volunteered to assist the nation, and they saturated our holy land with their pure blood. The memory of their self-sacrifice and heroic deeds will never disappear from us. May their souls be bound in the bond of life with the souls of Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, and with the souls of the other heroes and martyrs of Israel who are in the Garden of Eden. Amen.
Please rise for El Malei Rachamim. El Malei Rachamim, Shochen Bamromim, המצא מנוחה נכונה תחת כנפי השכינה, במעלות קדושים וטהורים כזוהר הרקיע, מהזהירים לנשמות הקדושים שנלחמו בכל מערכות ישראל במחתרת ובצבא ההגנה לישראל, ושנפלו במלחמתם ומסרו נפשם על קדושת השם, העם והארץ. בעבור שאנו מתפללים לעילוי נשמותיהם, אנא בעל הרחמים, הסתירם בסתר כנפיך לעולמים, וצרור בצרור החיים את נשמותיהם. אדוני הוא נחלתם, וינוחו בשלום על משכבותיהם, ותעמוד לכל ישראל זכותם, ויעמדו לגורלם לקץ הימים. ונאמר Amen. Please be seated.
Today, we will commemorate 5 of the 73 soldiers who perished in the helicopter disaster of 1997. We chose these young men because they had roots in or near Milwaukee's partnership region, the Sovev Kinneret. I, Denise Wadzinski, volunteer with the P2G. I light this candle in memory of Shlomo Pitsuati, son of Shula and Michael. Born on October 3rd, 1977 in Tiveria, he was a brother to Amir, Yamit, Asaf, Oshri, and Yair. Shlomi began his schooling at the Tachmoni Elementary School, continued his studies at the Amal High School, and he graduated from the Carmeli School of Mechanical Engineering. Shlomi was born on Simchat Torah, and he was always happy. In all his childhood photos, he made funny faces. He made everyone laugh, and he was a mischievous boy. As a young boy, he took an active part in the choir of the Beit Ginsburg Community Center, and he was sent to perform abroad with his friends. Shlomi's great love was the Sea of Galilee, the Kinneret. He enjoyed nature and swimming, fishing, and hiking. Shlomi was an optimist with a unique sense of humor and a rare wisdom of life. He had the ability to live every moment and enjoy it to the fullest extent. Shlomi was devoted to his girlfriend Inav. He had charm, and he was successful at work. At the end of November 1995, he enlisted in the IDF, and he became a combat soldier in the Golani Brigade Signal Company. Shlomi was loved by his friends and his commanders. He had high morale, great courage, and a willingness to sacrifice. He was a role model to his crew and all the other soldiers. Shlomi was appointed to be a divisional sergeant, a position that would enable him to utilize his special skills, and he had a rare ability to work for and with younger soldiers. Shlomi was only 19 years old when he died in the helicopter crash on February 4th, 1997. After his death, he was promoted to the rank of sergeant. May his memory always be for a blessing. Zikrono livracha.
I, Mark Levy, volunteer with P2G.
Light this candle in memory of Eran Hai Peretz, son of Shulamit and Eitan, born on August 8, 1975, in Kibbutz Degania. Eran was brother to Uri and Yaron, Karim, Yael, and David, uncle to Rotem, and grandson of Shlomo, Betty, Moshe, and Esther. Eran was a handsome boy, all smiles and light. He was named after his uncle, his mother's brother, Captain Eran Cohen, whose plane was shot down in the Egyptian skies during the Yom Kippur War. His parents added the name Hai to his name as a virtue for good health and longevity, but that is not how fate would have it. And now they are buried side by side in the cemetery in Degania Aleph. Eran attended the school in Degania Aleph and continued at Beit Yarach High School, graduating with honors. His friends called him the Little Prince. From his childhood, he was known for his seriousness, the responsibilities he tended to take on, his academic achievements, diligence, and his sense of humor. He listened attentively to his friends, always knew how to be there when they needed him, and contributed without expecting anything in return. Eran excelled in various sports, swimming, running, and target shooting, and loved to have fun on the computer. At the beginning of April 1994, he enlisted in the IDF and trained as a fighter in the Armored Corps. He advanced rapidly, became an officer, and served as a platoon commander in the Sufa Battalion as part of the company's commanding corps. His superiors said he had a wonderful blend of shyness, innocence, humility, determination, and professionalism. Over the course of his military service, he stood out as a responsible soldier, a role model to his troops, who followed his orders out of the appreciation they felt for him. Eran's friends gave him the nickname Energizer Bunny. They said that he demonstrated great concern for his soldiers and a willingness to go above and beyond for them. Eran's hobby was photography. From an early age, he took pictures with his still camera, and during his military service, filmed video, including a film about the officer's course. His camera was found with him on the night of the crash, and they miraculously were able to salvage enough to include it in his memorial video. Eran was 21 and a half years old when he died in the helicopter crash on February 4th, 1997. After his death, he was promoted to lieutenant. May his memory be for a blessing. Zikrano Livracha.
I, Lori Solinsky, volunteer with P2G, light this candle in memory of Ronen Halfon, son of Simcha and Diner. Born on May 14, 1961 in Tiberias, Ronen was a brother to Meir, Rama, and Yoram, and a partner to Tali. Ronen spent his childhood and youth in the city where he was born. He studied at the Ehrlich Elementary School and continued at the Amal High School in the electronics department. Outside of school, he took part in both basketball and sailing clubs. He participated in the Tzofi movement both as a scout and later as a leader. In November 1979, Ronen enlisted in the IDF and volunteered for an aviation course. He completed his course in 1981 as a helicopter navigator and served for 3 years in the Anafot Squadron. During the Lebanon War, he participated in dozens of evacuations and rescue missions of fighters from the front. In 1984, Ronen moved to the Yasur Squadron and advanced to a senior navigator position. As part of his service in the Yasur Squadron, Ronen participated in many operations. Once he was released from the IDF, he served in the reserves every week. Ronen was a man of many talents. He loved to learn and teach. When Ronen was discharged from military service in 1986, he began his academic studies at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem in mathematics and physics. He continued to a master's program in physics at Ben Gurion University in Beersheba and went to law school as well. Ronen was a beloved teacher. He taught physics at the Institute for Science Education in Tel Aviv and at the Gifted High School in Ashdod. Ronen's students say that he had a shy smile, and despite his high education and military schools, he was modest. Ronen was one of the pilots in the deadly helicopter crash. He was 35 years old when he died on February 4th, 1997. May his memory be for a blessing. Zichrono livracha.
I, Donna Kleiner, volunteer with P2G, light this candle in memory of Michael Mickey Katz, son of Shlomit and David, born on October 24th, 1976 in Haifa. He was brother to Avi, Elad, Nava, and Gili. Mickey was a baby with large blue eyes and a focused look. He was named after his grandmother's brother who died in the Holocaust. He began his studies at the Rambam Religious Elementary School in Haifa. He was a sociable, quick-paced, and gold-haired boy. He later attended the Lavi Religious School. He was a successful student who liked painting, listening to music, and playing the clarinet. Mickey was a member of the B'nai Akiva youth movement as a participant and counselor. He studied at the B'nai Akiva Yeshiva in Kfar Haroeh, where he studied physics and computers. In his spare time, Mickey enjoyed reading, sewing, and painting. Mickey spent 4 months at Ma'ale Gilboa Yeshiva, where he left a huge wall painting in his room as a farewell present to his friends. The painting depicts a collapsing soldier with a chest wound and a bullet hole in his helmet, looking up at a crashing helicopter. At the top of the painting is the word "why" in English with a large question mark. There appears to be drops dripping off the letters, perhaps tears. The mural still stands as a memorial to him. Mickey joined the IDF at the end of August 1994 and served in the Nachal Brigade. After only 9 months, he qualified for the sergeant's course and immediately started training recruits in the Shacham Battalion. Later, he went to an officer's course. After a battle in which the Nachal's engineering company suffered heavy losses, Mickey withdrew from officer school to volunteer and serve in the Nachal's engineering company. He completed the additional training required to join this unit, and then joined the veteran team of sergeants at the Pumpkin Outpost in Lebanon. Mickey, who never aspired to a military career, became an exceptionally motivated combat soldier. He served in a wide variety of roles, demonstrating full commitment to each of them. Mickey was 20 years old when he died in the helicopter crash on February 4th, 1997. May his memory be for a blessing. Zichrono livracha.
I, Jen Saber, volunteer with P2G, light this candle in memory of Fadi Kazimel, son of Shaharban and Mijad. Fadi was born on September 20th, 1977, in the Druze village of Beit Jan in the Upper Galilee. He was a brother to Roni, Fuad, Alas, Sonia, and Ranza, and engaged to be married to Bonina. Fadi studied at Beit John Elementary School and continued at the village high school. He practiced karate and Krav Maga from the time he was a young boy. He had received his black belt, and his future as a karate coach was assured. He participated in competitions and won medals. The trophy he was awarded earned his village great respect. Fadi was a music lover and loved listening to Israeli songs. Fadi was a member of a family whose sons traditionally served in the IDF, reaching senior ranks. 3 of them lost their lives in Israel's wars. During his childhood, Fadi was drawn to the military, conducting war games with his friends and practicing conquests, likening himself to a commander. Fascinated by the stories of his father and friends about the wars they took part in, he listened attentively to their memories of encounters and missions. Fadi spoke constantly of his desire to enlist in the army and insisted on this right, even though he was a member of a bereaved family. At the beginning of December 1995, Fadi enlisted in the IDF, volunteering for the Infantry and Armor Corps. He trained as an armored fighter and served in the Romach Battalion. He prided himself on being an armorer and the values it represented. He loved the Army and saw his future in the IDF. His commanders, impressed by his ability and qualities, recommended he go to an officer's course. In his military life, as well as in civilian life, Fadi was surrounded by many friends, Jews and Druze, who appreciated him and his close friendship. Fadi was 19 years old when he died in the helicopter crash on February 4th, 1997. After his death, he was promoted to the rank of sergeant. May his memory be for a blessing. Zichrono livracha.
I, Gal Gardi,
And I, Itai Rockben, Partnership Together Shinshins of the Milwaukee Jewish Community,
light this last candle of hope for the future, for peace and tranquility in Israel,
also today and also for generations to come,
and for the glory of the state of Israel,
Uletiferet Medinat Israel. Thank you.
כתבת שירים, ידעת להזיל דמעה, אותה כל כך אהבתי, ידעת להיות קשוח, מחליט, עיקש, ידעת להרגיע ולנחם, מי ינחם אותנו עכשיו? אהבת, אהבתי, אוהבת. כשהיית עצוב, התעצבתי, כששמחת, הייתי מאושרת, כשכאב לך, בכיתי, ומה אתה מרגיש עכשיו? ומה אעשה אני? כולם איתך עכשיו, כולם כאן לצדך, דוממים שותקים, והיכן נשמתך אלוהים, בוודאי זקוק לנשמה יתרה, ועל כן הוא לקח אותך. אהבת, אהבתי, אוהבת, כשהיית עצוב התעצבתי, כששמחת הייתי מאושרת, כשכאב לך בכיתי, ומה אתה מרגיש עכשיו? כשהיית עצוב התעצבתי, כששמחת הייתי מאושרת, כשכאב לך בכיתי, ומה אתה מרגיש עכשיו? ומה אעשה אני? תחסר לי בני, תחסר לי מאוד, שפילברג קטן שלי, תינוקי, לך נפנה בלעדיך. אהבת, אהבתי, אוהבת, כשהיית עצוב התעצבתי, כששמחת הייתי מאושרת, כשכאב לך בכיתי, ומה אתה מרגיש עכשיו? כשהיית עצוב התעצבתי, כששמחת הייתי מאושרת, כשכאב לך בכיתי, ומה אתה מרגיש עכשיו? ומה אעשה אני?
Please rise. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, ve'alma divra chirute v'yamlich malchute, v'chayachon uvyomachon uvchaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kariv v'yimru amen. Yehe Shmei Rabba Mevorach Le'olam U'Lalmei Almaya, Yitbarach V'Yishtabach V'Yitpa'ar V'Yitramam V'Yitnaseh, V'Yithadar V'Yitale V'Yithalal Shmei Dekudesha Barichu, Le'ela Min Kol Birchata V'Shirata, Tushbechata V'Nechemata, Damiran Ve'alma V'Yimru Amen. Yehe Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya, V'chaim Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael, V'Yimru Amen. Oseh Shalom B'Mromav, Hu Ya'aseh Shalom, Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael, V'Yimru Amen. Please be seated.
Avinu Shebashamayim,
מי שברך אבותינו, אברהם, יצחק ויעקב, הוא יברך את חיילי צבא ההגנה לישראל, העומדים על משמר ארצנו וערי אלוהינו, מגבול הלבנון ועד מדבר מצרים, ומן הים הגדול עד לבוא הערבה, ביבשה, באוויר ובים. ייתן אדוני את אויבינו הקמים עלינו, ניגפים לפניהם. הקדוש ברוך הוא ישמור ויציל את חיילינו מכל צרה וצוקה, ומכל נגע ומחלה, וישלח ברכה והצלחה בכל מעשי ידיהם. ידבר שונאינו תחתיהם, ויעטרם בכתר ישועה ובעטרת ניצחון. ויקוים בהם הכתוב, כי אדוני אלוהיכם ההולך עמכם, להילחם לכם עם אויביכם, להושיע אתכם, ונאמר אמן.
May our God, who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, and Leah, bless the members of Israel's defense forces and its security services who stand guard over our land and the cities of our God, from Lebanese border to the Egyptian desert, from the Mediterranean Sea to the approach of the Arava, and wherever else they are, on land, in air, and at sea. May the Sovereign One make the enemies who rise against us be struck down before them. May the Holy One, blessed be God, protect and deliver them from all trouble and distress, affliction and illness, and send blessing and success to all the work of their hands. May God subdue our enemies under them and crown them with deliverance and victory. And may there be fulfilled in them the verse, "It is the Lord your God who goes with you to fight for you against your enemies to deliver you." And let us say, Amen.
If you are able, would you please rise? Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Please join us as we sing a tikva all together.
Ah
Thank you so much for joining us for Tekes Yom HaZikaron. I hope you can join us again on Sunday, May 15th, 2 p.m. here at the JCC for the Walk of Israel and celebration of Yom Ha'atzmaut. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you.